First comes love, then comes marriage, then comes, am I a lesbian? Find out here. Keep it locked.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz
begin. Makes me so happy.
Isn't it nice?
I love a little Bruno Mars.
Always. Yes. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to AfterBuzz, the after show for TLC's Lost in Transition. So first, let's just get into who's on panel here. I'm Jaimi Alexander, and to my left.
Hi guys, I'm Laura L. Thomas.
Hello, I'm Ashley Lauren.
All right, so we're talking about all kinds of things today. So just to let you guys know, Lost in Transition the season is over. However, we wanted the opportunity to get real close and personal with each different married couple on the show. So we're starting with Stacy and Les, which we're really excited about. They were the introduction to the show, and they're so sweet. And we even have a little something where we're going to talk about how they were found in transition as well.
That's right.
But what did you guys think of the show overall, just as a whole? And tell me a little bit about your background on a subject like this.
Oh gosh, you mean other than just hanging out at the Abbey a couple of times? I don't know. I mean, really, I come from a musical theater background, so
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends that I feel like are in the LGBTQ community. I myself am not, but I am a new mother, and so I really wanted to watch this show just for the perspective of being a new mom and the new generation of this young community and how we can kind of be the voice of change for them as they grow up in a new world. So it was very, very intriguing to me, and I don't know, enlightening. What do you think, Ashley?
I absolutely love this show. So I run a brand about kindness and about, building bridges and breaking down barriers. So this show just naturally spoke to me because this is such an important topic, and people need to accept themselves, and then people need to accept other people. So this was just a beautiful show, and I was excited about it, and I loved it. So I'm happy that it met my expectations. Actually, it exceeded them. Good.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. And I would have to say I learned a lot because it basically took everything that I knew to another level. Love, acceptance, kindness, self-acceptance. And that's what I really loved about it. And just before we get into anything, I can be kind of like a shotgun talker. And I'm learning too about being in transition and things like that. So the goal here is definitely not to say anything offensive. We're all learning and growing on the subject, and really have a lot of love and compassion for all the couples that were on the show and everything that we saw. So I'm really excited to talk about Stacy and Leslie.
Yeah.
So what do you, I love how Stacy, she's so sweet.
So sweet. Everybody deserves a Stacy. I feel like she was just so accepting, and there were times when I was worried, well, wait, is she completely forgetting about herself? And I think since she is such a kind, gentle soul, she may struggle with that sometimes here and there, but ultimately you can tell that those two are so in love, and that came through in everything that they did.
Yeah, they're definitely interweaved in the fiber of one another, and I think that's what happens when you fall in love so young and you grow up together. I would imagine that would, as a huge part of discovering who you are those young formative years, and I think they fell in love in high school. And isn't that correct? They were high school sweethearts, and so those years are so impactful and really kind of telling who you are. And if they can fall in love at that point as Stacy and Les, and then learn to support each other and kind of, not only just as first they have Evander, their young son, and so you learn who you are as parents, and then you find out that Les is actually Leslie, and then you become parents again. It just is like they just have this like eternal growth thing going on, and I love that they're kind of embracing the journey together.
And I loved when Stacy said she was more afraid of losing her soulmate than she was of losing her husband. I was like, oh my God.
Yes.
It's so true. It's so true.
Yeah, that was something I was really thinking about, and I'm like, wow, what great love to have as a human. As humans, we're so flawed, and it's hard to love people on a daily as it is, whether it's family, your neighbor, or whatever the case. But to see such a great love, Stacy has such a sense of humor. She's so sweet, and to watch them evolve together in this situation is something else. With what you said, they were high school sweethearts. They're growing as adults. They're learning as parents, going through this transition, and then becoming parents again, all under financial constraints.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it's just kind
And
of
then
like...
also it's important to notice that they were in a more rural area where, you know, it's not the same necessarily living in New York City or LA where it's more diverse of all types of individuals. So that was obviously something that was made it, I think, everything a little bit harder.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Right, I know I was pretty concerned. Well, let's talk about some of the things that they went through. So the concerns about work, which I totally felt her. I had so much respect for Les and for Leslie. We're going to just call him Leslie. So much respect for her wanting to come out and do this. But I felt, Stacy, these bills need to be paid, and some people are not as forgiving or understanding. So with a baby on the way, do we want to put ourselves in this situation?
Yeah, and you know, that's a really good point to make up. And because I found myself curious about the same thing. Again, because I have a 5-month-old, and so had my husband come to me, you know, right before I had him and told me that he wanted to make this huge major life change right before we have this baby, I might have been not as accepting as Stacy. If I'm just 100% honest, I might have just said, can you put it off just until the baby's born? However, I found myself after watching the show thinking, yeah, but you're always going to find a reason to not make the change, to not step into that role, into that new lifestyle. And so I think maybe this show perhaps opened the door and opened the opportunity for him to say, hey, I'm ready to put Les behind and fully embrace Leslie. And I don't know, I think that it was a telling moment, it was a trying moment, but I think they handled it great.
Exactly. Yeah. The time to live your authentic self is always now. Should be right now.
Yeah.
But I completely understand and thought all of those same things. I was like, oh, really? Right now? Oh,
Like,
my goodness.
really?
Nope. Yep. Right now. But really, right? Okay.
Really right now?
Oh, wow.
Like, are you
Like,
sure right now?
Yeah. I was back and forth in it too, so I completely understand.
Yeah.
Yes, and looking through, I mean, there were a total of 4 couples. So looking at the other couples too, one thing I could also say about Stacy and Leslie is that I'm pretty sure it was good for him to do it, obviously in the long run as well, because it makes him feel whole. It makes her feel whole as a person, which is something that you want to be to even take on another, you know, family member and try to navigate through that. So
Yeah, because you can see that kind of this living not their authentic self was constantly something that was always keeping them in the form of stuck. So they weren't able to be their best selves, live their true self, because they weren't them true self. So once you would do, then hopefully everything kind of snowballs in a positive way.
And if you take into consideration the fact, okay, so then she comes out, she goes to work, she starts living as Leslie in this very masculine setting, because she works in a gun shop. So she, as she's,
Yep.
yeah, which is a whole separate show. But the show that we're talking about now, no, she goes and she works in this gun shop, which is a very masculine setting, and then she obviously loses that job halfway through the season. We find out that she loses the job, and on the one hand, like we were saying, yes, it's not, now is the time to live your authentic self. And then on the other hand, it's like, but really right now we got this baby coming. Do we really want to do this? However, do we not think that perhaps that setback also propelled her like 10 steps forward? Because it set her back in her life as Les, but it propelled her forward as her life as Leslie. So it was one of those things that I feel like she almost needed to be forced out of that situation.
Crutches will break.
Of course, yeah. And so I felt like she needed to kind of like, I wasn't surprised when I found out that I was kind of pissed, to be honest, when I found out that they had fired her. But it was almost one of those things where it's like, God or the universe will give you exactly what you need when you need it, even if it's a setback. And I think that's exactly what happened with Leslie and Stacy in this position, because I think she grew that much more, you know. And I don't know. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, because then obviously near the end of the season, we see that they may possibly be relocating to Wisconsin,
Right.
and that may be a totally amazing thing for them.
Yep.
Which wouldn't have happened if some things hadn't kind of falling apart.
It's always getting out of your comfort zone. And I know as cliche as it sounds,
Nothing good ever happens there.
But yeah, I mean, I think it was just like life kind of kicked her out of her comfort zone once she made this choice. And I think that's always a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like how you brought up the Wisconsin move, because I thought that was great too. Not only was her family so loving and so accepting, which was such a beautiful thing to see.
I was crying. I was crying.
So good.
So sweet. They had so many questions. Grandma was like, "We are family. It was all good."
Because
you
could have seen that not going that way.
Yeah, and they were really excited. So I think you're right. Like pushing out into that and not keeping that secret down anymore created space for support, possibly relocating to a space where it's a bigger market. They're probably not even, worried about it. Because I know one concern when he was at the time, now she's a she. When she's in the gun store being misgendered was something that brought her to tears. Yeah. And so.
I will say, this might be jumping the gun a little bit, but, well, I'll just give a little teaser because we can talk about it later. But her makeover at the end, girl.
I know. I was like, do a YouTube video. Show me those tricks because I will use them right now.
Her makeup was so good.
Flawless.
Oh, it was so good.
Her eyes were popping. I want to know, what did you do?
It really was. It was so impressive.
So good.
So I'm glad she had that moment. We can talk about more about that later.
No, absolutely. I think it's all part of it. So another small thing that concerned me, I just had so much love for Stacy. She is literally the sweetest person. And this show really helped me grow. It helped me grow as a person and see how I could love more and where my little attitude would have came out. So with her being pregnant and about 1 to 3 weeks away from giving birth, this is the time where it's like, baby, let me rub your feet. What do you need? Let me help you. But she's making doctor runs, with Leslie. She is concerned about the bills and picking up more hours at her parents' office at the automobile shop. And there was even one point where Leslie was like, got fired today. Yeah, maybe you just have to get a job and this and I'm thinking like, she's about to have a baby. Like, so these are the parts of the things where as much as I respect everything, I'm like, oh my God, I think my little attitude would have been lit.
And I think there's a reason for that. So I know this show isn't about that, but I kind of wanted to see Leslie be a little bit sweeter to Stacy because I want to be like, she deserves it.
Well, this show is about that.
Where are her flowers?
Yeah, no, but I think this show is about that. Like, I think, yes, they get a lot of the sort of attention because they are the one physically transitioning. But as they mentioned in the show, they're all transitioning. Exactly. And it was one of the I think the other couples, but they went in for like a hormone replacement therapy consultation, and the woman who was kind of guiding them said, everyone that you come in contact with from here on out that knew you as this person is going to be transitioning, and I think that that's a really important point to bring up because that was my biggest concern with this couple is that I was so afraid that that Stacy was so her identity is so wrapped up in being Les's partner that she says at the end, I don't know who Stacy is anymore. Yeah. And that was my fear and my concern the whole time that she was trying so hard to keep her family together, to make this work, to sacrifice essentially everything that she wanted and everything that she signed up for the sake of his happiness. And I hope that we don't see later on that it comes back to bite her. She has made this choice and this decision to stay with Leslie, and I admire that hands down. But I also think that she's got to do some real soul searching and some digging to come to grips with what it is that Stacy actually needs and Stacy wants, because her needs are going to be met maybe in a different way now, and she's got to know if that's something that she can live with.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the other couples, they touched on that. Like, for example, when you get bottom surgery, that's a whole...
Girl, how does that even work?
Yeah, what did someone say? You embrace your inner lesbian, I guess. That was one of the things. But exactly, what's interesting, too, is in these couples, the woman transitioning spent a large portion of her life as a man. So she got to walk through life as a man. So maybe a certain level of assertiveness and confidence and kind of like running the show, you see in them a lot. Even though they're transitioning, they're still kind of almost like the boss in certain situations. So I wonder if, not to be like, buckle up, lady, now you're a woman, like, because that's not at all what I'm trying to say. But I found that interesting. And you must notice that it was always kind of, it was whatever the transitioning woman said went. And I don't mean that in a way of like, other than that, it's almost like that was the husband, it was the boss. So I felt in a lot of ways the wife, the cisgendered wife, was just kind of okay.
So you're saying that like in this situation, like Leslie is still sort of the dominant figure in the relationship, and Stacey still by nature, I guess, is still the submissive one.
Yeah,
playing the role of the submissive.
You saw that in all of them. Except Troy and Cindy, which I can't wait to get to them, y'all. Cindy fought back a little bit.
Yeah, Cindy was like, yes.
But she's got some miles on her wheels. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
She's ready for. She's like,
I don't need you.
She was ready. She knew. We'll get to them later. But holy mackerel, that girl, she was like, nope. Like,
oh man. But that brings us back to the whole thing. Like everybody's transitioning because even when you take the hormones, like your sex drive disappears. So that was something else that I was really concerned about and wondering. We kind of didn't really get to see. We knew Stacey was committed, but we didn't get to really hear what she thought about, okay, like he wants bottom surgery, you guys haven't had sex, the desire is gone, so there's less pursuit. So yeah, I would like to know more about how she plans on moving forward for herself.
Yeah, because what if it almost just does kind of become more of a friendship?
That's what
you and your best girlfriend living together. That's what. If you're lesbian, I think it's different.
But see, that was my question, and that's my question throughout this whole thing is, okay, so the man who transitioned, so Les transitions to Leslie. Leslie is still attracted to women. So her sexual preference, her sexual preference did not change. However, she's forcing Stacey's sexual preference to change by transitioning to a woman and then staying in this relationship. How does that work?
And also, exactly, I think that's a huge thing that the transitioning woman maybe didn't necessarily look at from a dual perspective. Just to briefly touch one quick little second again on Troy and Cindy, they talked about that, and that's where Troy said if it was flapped and Cindy became, a man with a full beard and all of that, I don't think I would just be like, all right, let's do this.
There's that. And
do we really? I mean, I can't wait to talk about them. I don't think I see that happening. I don't. No. I don't. But and I just think I don't know. That's where I just get nervous for this couple, is because I feel like nothing was easy for them, and I think she was just trying to make this easy. You know what I mean? Like I think they were facing all this external factors of
some way all they have is each other.
Yeah, and who knows? Like maybe it's a season. Maybe she's meant to stay with Leslie through this season, and Leslie's meant to stay with Stacey through this season, and they raise their children, and then. But at some point, I would imagine you can't live your entire life without sex. Yeah. I would imagine.
Oh, absolutely not. No. That'd be absurd to even ask.
I mean,
they've got to figure it out.
They gotta, and I guess I know. I'm like nowadays they've got. I mean, they got all kinds of
stuff for everything,
toys and things that can bells and whistles that can flip her from the ceiling and whatnot. But
got it all.
Yeah. But that's just my struggle with the whole thing is like, okay, his as he transitions to her sexual orientation does not change, but she's forcing Stacey's to change, and that's where I struggle with this couple. I don't know. If you have a thought and a comment and you're watching us and we are in the live chat, please let us know what you're thinking, because we've got we're going to be up on our live chat every week as we discuss this, and my live chat's open, and I know we got a couple people watching, so if you have a thought or a comment, please let us know, and if not, we'll keep it going in the comments.
Yes, for sure. And so there was something else that I thought about when it came to these couples. A lot of what I'm hearing is a lot of people had repressed and unhealed childhood issues. And you start to see a lot of that come out, where there was a lot of shame and a lot of guilt and trauma that kind of kept them from being their authentic selves in the first place. So I think with Stacy and Leslie, I think Stacy's love gave Leslie space to come out, to open up, and to be, you know, who he really is. What do you think about, like, some of the unhealed wounds and, like, because remember he went to the grave. He had a really terrible time with his father, I think it was, who was very unkind to him when he opened up about wanting to dress like a woman.
Right.
And that is very scarring. Could you imagine having your parent totally
there's such a young age, there's a lot of shame involved, so you can't even, so then a huge, massive part of you is just viewed as bad, as wrong. And, you know, part of, like, living your authentic self is the best thing you can do for everyone, yourself and absolutely everyone around you. And I think that's what, hopefully with conversations like this and shows like this, that people will feel more comfortable to just be themselves. So this way, okay, that's wonderful. You're awesome. You're beautiful the way that you are. You don't have to try and hide or change, because when you do that, then you can see that kind of a snowball effect. You know, it's totally not putting more blame or shame on any of these women who are transitioning, but had they had the space to do this earlier, they wouldn't have maybe negatively or harmed their wives and the families in the way they're doing. And again, not saying that they did anything wrong by doing it this way, but wouldn't it have been great if this didn't happen?
No, but it's a choice. It's a choice that's made on their part to that once they make this choice and this decision to come out and to transition. Now I understand, like, the family shame and all of that. Like those wounds run deep.
Yeah.
And so I get keeping that buried for as long as possible, and then you finally find this person who accepts every single part of you. Why wouldn't they accept this part? And so you come out to them and you sort of let them know who you are as a transgender person. In some ways, and we see this in a lot with some of the more advanced couples in the show, in some ways, it almost, I'm gonna say this, and don't yell at me, internet, but it almost robs these women of a life with a partner that is going to, because again, it forces a decision on them to either change their sexual orientation or to break up their home and break up their marriage and break up their family. And it just, and not to say that they shouldn't, what I hope this show does and what I hope this conversation does is I hope that for the next generation that faces this, that they are able to embrace this earlier, so that we start having the conversation younger, so that people aren't forced to go into a situation where they have to hide this part of themselves and then come out 20, 30, 50 years later when marriages and children are at stake, and you've essentially you have essentially taken the opportunity for this other person to live their authentic life, because a lot of times they think that they are, you know, and then as we see with some of the other couples, that struggle, that I can't imagine my husband coming to me now saying, by the way, I'd like to do this, or I believe I'm a woman. And we talked about this a little bit before the show, like, I think as a spouse, I don't know if that's a hurdle that I could get over. As a mother, if my son came to me, all I would want was to say, I love you, like, for who you are, how you are. I want you to get the support that you need, and I want you to get the acceptance that you need. And that would be the thing that would scare me as the mom, is that he would be entering it down a harder journey, perhaps, you know, and maybe the conversation that this show is sparking will change that.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking, because I know it's the same for me, and that's why I said this show grew me, especially in love, to be open to accepting things. Like, I don't have kids, and I know that if my spouse were to say something like, it'd have to be a done deal for me. I love men, and, you know, it is what it is, and not to knock, you know, whoever wants to do whatever and how they want to do it. I'm, like, the biggest advocate, like, please live your best life. We only live once. Be authentic, rock out. Like, but in this particular situation, I'd have to agree with you. Like, I hope this show encourages people to speak up, release the shame, the guilt, and really live authentic. Another thing that I saw about the authenticity, and this might have been one of the other couples, but what I still noticed, well, even with Leslie, is the concern still, you know, oh, they just said I'm a guy and I'm being misgendered. And even in that, I even hope that if you're going to be your authentic self, go all the way. And who cares? You know, they may misgender you, but you know who you are. They may say, oh, that's a guy in here, but you know who you are. And just hold to that, because the faster you can get a hold of that, I think it allows everyone around you. It creates a ripple effect for that same freedom.
And I loved actually what Stacy said when that happened. She was like, they were wrong. Sometimes people are just wrong. And I was like, oh, what a way to,
I know.
you know,
She's such a
sometimes
doll.
people are wrong. I was like, geez, I'm going to use that in my own life when I'm like, this is sometimes people are wrong. They're just wrong. They're wrong, and that's okay. You know?
Yeah, and I that was another thing that I kind of noticed with the show, is that a lot of the time the producer would correct the pronouns that were being used. And again, I think that there's a way to do this that's kind to everyone, that shows grace to everyone, because again, while you may be the person that's transitioning physically, everyone else is going through, like, if I'm used to calling you, if I grew up with you as Les, then I'm going to refer to you as a he a couple of times until I get the she in my mouth.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it just, I think, and to be constantly corrected about it, I think it's a process and it's a journey. And that really irked me a couple of times when the producer kept changing the pronoun. I was like, nah, let them have their journey, let them have their experience.
Yes.
You know, because I just thought it was really unfair that they tried to force the pronouns upon people.
Yeah.
I think that in and of itself is a learning.
Yeah. Plus,
process.
I mean, we've seen these wives illustrate just immense amounts of grace and kindness, so we know that they're not out there trying to be nasty. Like, oh my goodness,
It's just a habit, and it will break as things unfold, but it does kind of give that essence of making someone wrong when you're correcting. I know if I'm already going through it, give me a minute. Give me a minute. Like, and that's just going to have to be that. Like, I'm doing, like you said, the immense amount of love and grace that I'm already giving, you know, as a lover that I want to give. Please don't, you know, get in my butt about that, because it's, you know, breaking a habit, and I'm here for it. So I have to agree. I thought that was interesting. But I guess before we talk about being found in transition, did you want to share anything that we have? We have a bunch of stuff coming up.
Before we talk about our special segment, AfterBuzz, our network produces after shows for nearly all of your favorite TV shows, from dramas, reality TV, sci-fi, and more. There is no network that works harder to serve television fans, but we need your help. We are asking that you please subscribe to one or more of our YouTube channels. By subscribing to our channel, YouTube will suggest content that's tailor-made for you, and you'll help AfterBuzz continue to grow. And if you're worried about pesky notifications, don't be, because they're optional. So hit that subscribe button now for this channel, and check out our other AfterBuzz channels for our other AfterBuzz YouTube channels as well. Let us know that you did, and in the comments, and we will thank you on air. For now, thank you so much for being the best fans and for helping us be the ESPN of TV talk.
Yay, thank you. We love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. So before we wrap it up, found in transition. So you know, I love this, and I love this idea, and I think we nailed it when we spoke about Stacy, and this whole thing gave her an opportunity to be like, wait, who am I? What am I doing? Like, what do I love? What do I want to be into? And that's priceless, especially for a mom, which I'm sure you can speak to.
I mean, I think you, especially that young, you are going through she's going through so many changes. And my found in transition moment, which is kind of the moment that we think is one of the more triumphant moments of this particular couple, I think my found in transition moment would be with Stacy at the very end. I mean, at the very tail end of the series, you see her on camera and she's going, I don't know who Stacy is. And I think that moment, through all of this, just recognizing that she needs to do some soul searching, and she needs to kind of dig a little deeper to find out who she is now through this transition, and more in the loss of who she was and now who she's becoming. She admittedly, said that she kept putting herself last. I hope that she will find this moment to put herself first.
Amen.
So that's my found in transition moment.
Yes. What about for you?
I mean, to be similar to that, I think it was maybe just an episode earlier where she mentioned something in terms of, I have a bad habit of putting myself last, because she is just so sweet and so kind. And so, it was it's that she realizes that, wait a second, like, I'm important too. And by her being her best self, she'll be a better mother. She'll be a better partner. She'll be just, again, everything starts with you and how you view yourself, and from there, everything else snowballs. So I think that she's on the right path.
She's got to take some time to fill her own well.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely. Your power, contrary to popular belief, comes when you meet your needs first, not when you're meeting the needs of others. So I'm hoping that for her, and even for Les, I'm so happy for her. Like, for Leslie, I'm really happy that she can now live authentically. She feels pretty. She's got her family. She's been embraced by her extended family. Good to go. We're all happy.
And she got that magical makeover, girl.
Okay.
She got that good
Shout
hair.
out to the makeup artist.
And that good makeup. I'm telling you, she was looking good.
Eyes were popping. Yeah.
She looked great.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, she really did. Like a completely different person. And she really looked like, I don't know if I would have known.
I loved it too.
Oh, she rocked it. And you could tell she felt very confident, which I really loved.
That is
Loved her
really
makeover.
nice.
Yeah.
So we love how everyone turned out. So thank you guys so much. Do we have any other last thoughts?
I'm just excited to move on to the other couples, because
Yes.
I feel like we got our toe dipped in the water now, and now we get to jump into some of the drama.
Let's jump into the drama, because you guys will definitely want to tune in next week, Sunday at 7 p.m., because we'll be talking Cindy and Troy.
Woo, girl.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week. And Sunday, 7 p.m.
That's right.
See you there.
Yeah.
All right. So, yes, and you can follow me on Instagram at Jaimi Alexander.
And I'm Laura L. Thomas. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Laura Thomas Son.
You can find me on Instagram at kindakind with Ashley Lauren, or you can just go to kindakind.com and it's all there.
Yeah.
All right. So,
Bye, guys.
bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.